So every single element of this song was recorded using only sounds from my acoustic guitar. Yeah, I was pretty happy with how it turned out, and I'm gonna just break down how I did that. It's a good example of why you don't need the most expensive gear or instruments. You can just use anything and make a song out of it with just logic and a computer. So yeah, let's walk through it. So when making music, I like to break songs down to 5 elements. Those elements are chords, melody, bass, atmosphere, and rhythm. For this track, I decided to just do kick, snare, and a brush sound. So yeah, I just set this template up. I categorized everything, and then I could just start recording random sounds that I could fit into each category. So yeah, after recording a bunch of random samples, I just began building some instruments out of each sample. For my kick sound, I just layered 2 samples together, EQ'd them, and then time stretched it a bit lower to get a bit more thump. Snare, I went for more of a rim shot type sound, so I decided to flick my acoustic guitar. I EQ'd, compressed it, and once again layered a couple samples together. For my brush sound, I just brushed my guitar, recorded myself doing that a ton, and then just picked 3 samples that I really liked and went from there. For bass, here's the sample I used. 1 single string pluck. I figured I could time stretch it. So yeah, that's basically what I did. I just dragged it into Logic's Quick Sampler and then just gave it some saturation. That was my bass instrument. For melody, I was thinking I'd make a pluck type sound. So I took 2 different higher pluck sounds that I sampled, made a summing stack so I could play them both together, and it just would give more interesting textures. For chords, I wanted more of a soundscapey pad type sound that I could just have in the background. So I picked 3 harmonic samples I recorded, stacked them together. One of the harmonics I pitched up a couple octaves, then decided to just reverse the sample so they would swell in more like a pad and also just have some weird textures. I always like ambience and atmosphere in all of my tracks, so I just recorded myself petting my guitar for a while. So I just have lots of opportunity to chop parts that stood out to me that I could just put into the background and just make some interesting atmospheric texture with. From there, I cleaned up my template, had everything color coordinated, put nice icons and everything, and wrote the whole song just using these sounds. So all my drum sounds I bounced to audio and then just dragged them into Logic's Drum Machine Designer, so I could just play in a quick beat from there. So then I decided to lay down a chord progression with the reversed pad sound that I'd created. Built up a quick intro by sending the pad to a large reverb. Layered some of the melodic pluck sounds on top. Which I sent to Soundtoys Crystallizer. Just gave it a really fun texture. So from there I started messing around with a bass line. And came up with a call and response type of melody. I added some width to the response using Soundtoys Microshift. I wasn't really feeling the bass still, so I started just automating in some swells. And just moved on from there. I went back to my plucky melodic instrument, which I put an arpeggiator on. Added enough variation to spark some new ideas. playing around with the song. I was really liking how the intro was given a creepy delay. Used that as a sample, repeated it every 2 bars for the first verse. Give some variance. And since my head was in ear candy mode, I went back to the samples where I was just petting my guitar, chopped up bits I liked, added some EQ and tremolo. I was still looking for a main melody, so I went back to my pluck instrument, took off the arpeggiator, and noticed when I pitched it down, it sounded a lot like a steel drum sound. Yeah, it instantly made me want to make a melody with it. I find it's important, especially with instrumental music, to make the main melodic element stand out. So I spent a lot of time editing the rhythm of it, playing around with different effects, as well as layering the sample. When I'm farther along in a track, I just like to sprinkle in more ear candy. Took the sample of me playing the headstock of my acoustic guitar, pitched it to fit the key of the song, reversed it. Then I added a delay to that. Recorded myself automating the speed of the delay, which gave a ramping effect. From there, I just spent time layering more elements to the track. Did a bunch of automating because that's always how you make a track come to life, and then did a quick master. I'm not a mastering engineer, so I tend to try and just make everything sound good in the mix. I do like to put a limiter on and then go back into the mix and then start mixing from there. When I'm listening to this song, I feel confused about how unacoustic-y it is. If I can fool myself, most people will have no idea. That's it. Let's play you out. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to this channel, feel free to check out my music. I will put a link to some of the music that I've written up here. But yeah, with nothing more to do.